From FXB, Fox TV, the News 13 network presents Fox News at 10.
Having garnered the majority of the votes, am the Democratic nominee for the 7th Congressional District.
The South Carolina Elections Commission decides there will be no runoff between the Democratic candidates for the 7th District seat. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for being with us. I'm Amy Vitrano in for Wendy Redmond tonight. Tonight's Hot Fox 5 begins with the Commission's decision. Now, depending on how you look at the numbers from primary night, there could have been a runoff between Democratic candidates Lori Bromell Tinubu and Preston Britton. But the Commission looked the other way. Get reaction from Britton's camp.
We could get rid of some of these abandoned houses, or either not, if the city would fix it up.
The Florence City Council budgeted ways to clean up the area next year. We'll tell you which properties they plan to buy. May jobless numbers out today, and the rate did something we have not seen in a while, go up. But one local county saw improvement.
What happened yesterday was extremely rare.
Shark bites are not common off the coast of South Carolina, but they do happen, like the 4 yesterday. So if you're still weary about getting in the water, we've got some tips for you. And some lucky Walmart employees got to give their boss a pie in the face today. It was the store's fundraiser. We'll tell you for what organization. And that's tonight's Hot Fox 5. The South Carolina Election Commission decided today there will not be a runoff for the Democrats in the race for the new 7th Congressional District. It stood its ground, saying the votes for former candidate Ted Vick would not count. The Election Commission's primary night numbers showed Tinubu avoiding a runoff, with Britton getting 52% of the vote. Again, that is with the votes from Ted Vick thrown out after he dropped out of the race after a DUI arrest. These are the numbers that will now stand for the times being after today's ruling. With Vick's votes counted, Tinubu got only 49%, and that would have meant a runoff with Britton. There was never any notification prior to the primary that the votes for Ted Vick would not count. Dr. Tinubu celebrated this afternoon.
I'm humbled by the overwhelming support that voters of the 7th Congressional District have shown this campaign. From Georgetown to Horry, from Florence to Darlington, from Marion to Marlboro, and from Dillon to Chesterfield.
Now, this is not over. An Horry County judge already announced a restraining order today against the state's election commission, saying Vick's votes should be counted. And hearing on that ruling is planned for June 21st. The campaign manager of Tinubu's opposition, Preston Britton, released a statement this evening saying, quote, "It is disappointing that the State Election Commission determined that more than 2,300 voters have been told their votes do not count against the recommendation from the State Attorney General. We believe that the court will ultimately decide that the votes cast will be counted." Preston looks forward for a swift resolution of this matter for the benefit of all affected by the SC Election Commission's decision. Now, there will be a runoff between the Republican candidates Andre Bauer and Tom Rice. Rice picked up another endorsement today. Republican State Representative Alan Clemens threw his support behind Rice because he says he disagrees with Mr. Bauer's political tactics, saying, quote, "The kind of negative ad that was unleashed this morning gives me the indication that Mr. Bauer may believe his only way is to win is to tear Mr. Rice down." The runoff for that election will take place June 26th. Florence City Council's new budget could have positive impacts for the downtown residents. That budget sets aside a significant funding to buy unoccupied buildings and property. As Patricia Burkett reports, that pleases some of the citizens who live near those sites.
Those who've called downtown Florence home for many years witnessed quite a few changes, from well-kept homes turning into boarded-up bungalows to thriving businesses closing up shop.
There should have been someone, actually taking care of this and making sure that the whole community is provided for.
For the city of Florence, the problem is an obvious one they've tried to conquer, but each attempt to clean up the streets comes with a pretty hefty price tag. In the upcoming year, though, City Council set aside some major funds for 2 big projects and grant money to help take down or revitalize abandoned homes.
That'll give people more pride in their community, and then make the neighborhood just look good. We could get rid of some of these abandoned houses, or either not, if the city would fix it up and then sell it to people.
In the upcoming year, the city plans to use $185,000 to purchase a property directly across from one of its recreation centers and another $175,000 to purchase a site close to the city-county complex, with matching funds for that project coming from the Drs. Bruce and Lee Foundation. What may be a bigger impact to residents, though, is nearly $225,000 in community block grants. That could mean major facelifts for many buildings.
And many of those residents say it's this type of structure that they're referring to, abandoned or dilapidated buildings and houses that are simply taking up space.
While the purchases and improvements are still several months down the road, many downtown residents say they're eagerly awaiting any potential changes that would make their neighborhood a little nicer. Reporting for Fox News at 10, I'm Patricia Burkett.
Now, in addition to that funding set aside for the buildings and land purchases, City Council also approved pay raises for employees next year. They'll get a 2% performance-based pay increase beginning in January. Now, for the first time in 10 months, South Carolina's jobless rate rises. In fact, only 2 counties in the entire state saw their numbers improve in May. One of those 2 counties was Marlboro, but it still ranks 3rd worst in the state. Marion County has the state's worst rate at 17.1%. The state rate in May, 9.1%, is up from 8.8% in April. The local counties with the best rates, Florence and Horry, both at 9.9%, and Georgetown at 9.5%. North Carolina's unemployment rate was unchanged last month at 9.4%, breaking a 4-month streak of declining numbers. Despite that, North Carolina still has the 4th worst rate in the nation, behind only Nevada, Rhode Island, and California. South Carolina has the 6th worst rate. Both states have rates worse than the national average. A new company in Columbia put the minds of the public to work today. 52 Apps held its first ever App Idea Day. The company's goal is to release 1 new smartphone app a week, but to do that, it needs lots of ideas. The company says it will pay you 5% of the royalties on the first 10,000 downloads of your app and 10% after that.
We've taken probably 30 to 40 ideas today, and most of them have been great and things that we never would have thought of in a million years.
52 Apps plans to hold Idea Days every 4 to 6 weeks. Some of the ideas they heard today were for apps that would help you learn languages and one that would help football and basketball coaches. The company will sell the apps it creates from anywhere from 99 cents to $5 per download. Georgetown County Sheriff's deputies need your help to find an accused burglar. Deputies say this man broke into a condo earlier this month on South Waccamaw Drive in Murrells Inlet. Investigators described the alleged criminal as a white man with a goatee and mustache, about 5 feet tall and 10 inches. He weighs about 220 pounds and may be in his early 30s. If you have any information about this man, call your local authorities. Investigators search for a hit-and-run driver that sent a teen worker to instant care. It happened on I-74 in Lumberton Tuesday. North Carolina troopers tell us a tractor-trailer sped through a closed westbound lane, hitting several construction barrels. 18-year-old Alan Broswell of Greer, South Carolina, suffered numerous injuries, including internal organ damage and broken vertebrae. Still no official word for what sent 4 beachgoers to the hospital yesterday, but a lifeguard on scene was confident small sharks are to blame. None of the bites were serious, and that stretch of beach reopened after an hour. Shark bites around here are relatively rare, and if you do get bit, it's usually not that bad. But if this all has you scared about getting in the water, Libba Holland has some ways to help, some advice.
The first attack was right around 74th Avenue. I saw 2 guys running towards me from this end, and they said they had a bite victim down here. By the time I got to them, another guy came up to me and said he had a bite victim.
Myrtle Beach lifeguard Denny Starr describes a scene you might think belongs in the movies.
What happened yesterday was extremely rare. I feel like it's safe.
And today, the beach is back in business.
Most people don't seem to be afraid that they were all ready to get back in the water.
The sharks you'll see inside the tanks at Ripley's Aquarium are the types you might typically find off the Carolina coast, the sand tiger shark and the sandbar shark. You might be more comfortable being around this one though, but just know a real shark's teeth are extremely sharp and can cause a cut with just a graze.
They'll have about 7 rows of teeth.
Tim Hansel works with sharks at Ripley's Aquarium every day. He believes yesterday's situation involved not one, but multiple predators.
Once that animal would encounter something different, something strange, they'd be much more wary of their next feeding attempt.
He says schools of fish or bait lines could attract the sharks to shore at breakfast or dinner times. They're not looking to feed on you, but Hansel says be aware of your surroundings.
You don't necessarily want to be hopping in the water next to a group of people that are fishing. And I know what the possibilities are, but if you're aware of them and you take all the necessary safety precautions, then I feel comfortable.
Reporting for Fox News at 10, I'm Libba Holland.
Now, just for some perspective, in South Carolina over the past 60 years, lightning strikes have killed nearly 100 people. Sharks have killed 0.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
Some Walmart employees got a chance to release built-up anger at their boss today. They gave their supervisors a pie in the face. It was part of a fundraiser for the Children's Miracle Network. Fundraiser was actually the manager's idea, and it cost the workers $2 towards CMN. The Children's Hospital in our area is McLeod in Florence, which serves the PD, Grand Strand, and Southeastern North Carolina. Food Lion also raised money for Children's Miracle Network today. It hosted its 11th annual Thriller on the Griller at the beach on South Kings Highway. For small donation, customers had lunch and bid on silent auction items like bikes, golf bags, and autographed memorabilia.
I mean, it's a great cause. It's always good to get together with vendor partners in the community to be able to support and help the children because they're not always able.
Thriller events will tour additional Carolina Beach-based Food Lion stores until July 3rd. Last year, the Thriller on the Griller at the Beach fundraising events raised more than $100,000. And later on Fox, last-minute gift ideas for Dad. And these are great because you don't even have to go to the store. But first, Andrew is here with the weather, and I bet the weather this weekend is going to be a gift for everybody, right?
It sure is. It's going to be great weather. We saw that today with temperatures in the 80s. I'll let you know how long the sunshine and warm weather sticks around in my full forecast right after the break.